The internet and I, yeah, we go back a ways. Try 1995. That's 30 years. Actually, we were born around the same time, the internet's birthday being January 1st, 1983. Are 3 or 4 decades coexisting with someone long enough to tell them that you don't really like what they've become? Hard to reach, selfish, fake, and also that you want to see other people, or just people. I've talked on this channel about breaking up with my phone, using it less often and more intentionally for a healthier life. The project is ongoing, but I've encountered a larger and more troubling obstacle than those I identified earlier. The internet sucks now. I mean, that's not news. Everybody knows that. Nonetheless, Canadians spend 6 hours and 30 minutes a day on average looking at internet screens, and an additional 3 hours looking at streaming or live broadcast. That's essentially all of our free time. And hey, oh no, God, there's a bug in my nose. Okay, that's some real authenticity there. Now, May isn't just my favorite month in Calgary because of the weather, although that certainly helps after a seemingly 6-month long winter. But it's also when other people who aren't me start doing things. I'm sure they were doing things by themselves indoors, but just doing things together in groups. I'm going to include footage throughout the video of the SUPERTRAIN model railway show. I don't think you can find a more wholesome, organized activity than Canada's largest model railway show. And it takes place here every year. And there were numerous other events that I always look forward to, like the Calgary Reads Big Book Sale, where there were 200,000 books donated for charity for children's literacy. It's such a big deal that people drive from other provinces up north, from the West Coast, to just like load up their cars. The last thing you'll see footage of is Critical Mass, which is a monthly bike ride. It takes place on the last Friday of every month, including in the winter. So a few brave souls, actually like several dozen few brave souls, are out in winter biking, but obviously a lot more are going to be out when it's like this. And actually the monthly May ride that took place yesterday had maybe 500 people, certainly over 400, and might be the largest ride again since this event started up again in Calgary a bit over a year ago. So it's great to see all these people doing things together, and that's actually the point and topic of this video that is about my place where I live, my community, and the things that I've personally done to recover from various sorts of burnout. Many people look to, well, anything analog or offline, hobbies, physical media, socializing, as a way to spend one's time more wholesomely and productively. To some extent, this can be helpful advice, but there's an ideal combination that I'm calling analog social hobbies. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's about as succinct as I can get it. What do I mean by these terms? Analog, continuously variable physical quantities. That's just basically as opposed to digital. I'm not going to get super sciencey about it, but most people understand what that means. Digital media is, I mean, like, don't not listen to CDs or whatever, because technically that's digital, but you know, it's physical media. Social, with others, part of a group, organization, or society. Hobbies, activities done regularly in one's leisure time, not work. An even simpler, though slightly longer definition is doing real things with real people in real spaces. This should have some kind of structure or purpose, as opposed to just hanging out. I also don't suggest abandoning digital technology entirely. We live in the 21st century, so it would be silly not to use, say, email, message boards, networks to organize real-world activities. As culture writer David Sax puts it in his 2016 book, The Revenge of Analog, the choice we face isn't between digital and analog. That simplistic duality is actually the language that digital has conditioned us to, a false binary choice between 1 and 0. Reality is multicolored, infinitely textured, and emotionally layered. The best ideas emerge from that complexity. I would argue that the best use of your time combines analog and digital in thoughtful ways. It's even better when you combine your time and thoughts with those of others. That all sounds pretty nice, but it's also important to remember what we're trying to avoid. We have to make a conscious effort to disengage, because the problems of the internet are only going to get worse before they get better, if they ever do. Because after all, online, you can't access anything, you don't own anything, and you can't tell what the truth is. It's hard to describe to young people, younger people than me, the enormous promise that the internet held in the 1990s. The launch of the World Wide Web, accessible to all, was seen as discovering fire, the printing press, LSD, and spaceflight all rolled into one. What I liked most about the early internet is that anyone could make a website, and it would be pretty good, or at least the same level of quality as most other websites. You could hand code it in an afternoon. Whether anybody would visit, it didn't especially matter. Anybody could, and that was the cool new part. The main reason it seemed like there were fewer barriers between you and your potential online audience in the 1990s is that there were. In June 1995, there were estimated to be 23,500 websites. The current online audience, which is 68% of the world's population, a population that also grew 30% between 1995 and 2025, has 1.8 billion websites available to access. Even if we only count the active ones, that's still 400 million. Wait, isn't more usually better? How come we can't access all this wonderful stuff? Well, we all happen to be stuck in the flywheel of anti-competitive commerce. The flywheel is the metaphor that tech writer and activist Cory Doctorow uses in his 2022 volume, Chokepoint, Capitalism, co-written with researcher Rebecca Giblin. Since the mid-20th century, right-wing think tanks such as the Chicago School have convinced lawmakers that short-term customer welfare in the form of always low prices always trumps more conventional notions of democracy or even economic concepts such as fair competition. Monopolies became more acceptable and less subject to antitrust laws. As Doctorow and Giblin say, while competition is supposed to be central to capitalism, the wealthiest people alive today have gotten rich by suppressing it. They are creating choke points that separate producers from consumers so that they can capture a disproportionate share of value from other people's work. Of the millions and billions of websites that I mentioned earlier, how many do you actually visit each day? If you're anything like me, it might be less than a dozen. And it tends to be the same ones every day, day in, day out. The authors share these two graphics of Amazon's flywheel, Amazon being the best and biggest example of this trend, but applicable to pretty much all websites, especially cultural products. The first graphic is what the company thinks it's doing, high-mindedly, and the second, well, as it says, this is what's really going on. This is why you can't seem to leave these ecosystems, even if you maybe intend to. The products and entertainment you want and need are there in pretty much 1 to 3 websites or companies in every category. The other options are deliberately made worse and harder to reach and support. You can forgive us millennials for wanting to pare down our stuff for the last decade or two. Clutter held us back, so the wisdom went, so let's just focus on the essentials. I can't begrudge Gen Z and Alpha for finding our old stuff neat, but I can't go so far as to claim that enjoying physical media, which is super fun, is any sort of social resistance. In the end of the day, it's still just consumption. And my point and my thinking lately is that production matters more than consumption. Physical media or any media is kind of the end result of a process. The process can continue with you enjoying it, of course, but insofar as the thing itself, it's kind of a done deal. But as I'll circle back to, the point is that you can produce new stuff with other people, and that might be cultural products, maybe you're in a band, or it could be just an experience, and that's valuable too. Owning or being owned by our possessions is another example of binary thinking, I think. It's best to view our stuff as a means to end, and the end is enjoyable experiences, hopefully with other people sometimes. I'll never say don't enjoy a piece of media or personal collection or treasured keepsake for yourself and by yourself. But again, building a diorama or selecting a book or riding a bike is more fun with others. Yes, you still need the model kit or volume or vehicle, and there's always a more ethical and affordable way to consume. But people are the most important thing to keep your focus on, not stuff. The internet's biggest danger isn't a movie not being available in your region. It's now that the entire truth is up for debate. Google, as the standard way to know what's true, actually only existed for about 20 years. Before that, you could look things up on the internet, but it was kind of wild, and you'd just get the usual mix of kind of crankery and of course today, the other end of the timeline between about 2000 and 2020, we've got AI. So that's great. It's not. That's a sarcasm. In the 2025 book, The Certainty Illusion, author Timothy Caulfield asks a similar question as we've encountered with access and ownership. The paradox being, if there's so much knowledge, there's more knowledge, verified, true knowledge available to us in the world than ever in history. And yet, we don't even really know what's true on a day-to-day basis. You're probably detecting another not so subtle theme emerging by now. The truth is profitable, but even more profitable, the illusion of truth. Caulfield says, our information environment is becoming increasingly spun, polarized, and rage-filled. More and more of us get our news and answers to our questions and concerns from sources that encourage and profit from chaos, spin, polarization, and rage. Misinformation is a global crisis. The author focuses on the erosion of the guideposts of truth. He identifies 3 distinct areas in which illusions abound: science, goodness, and opinion. He quotes Carl Sagan in holding up the scientific method and critical thinking as a candle in the dark to point us back to a better society. Once again, a better society, a better internet. It's possible, and it's worth fighting for. But it's probably not going to happen today or tomorrow. After looking more in depth at the topics of access, ownership, and the truth, as they are available on the internet, I have concluded that things are no good. Again, not really a surprise, but it's nice to have smarter, better researched people than me writing entire books and resources about these topics, which I entirely recommend all of these books, beginning to end. Below, there's links in the description to the books. Please read them. Please use your non-internet browsing time to read a book or 3. Anyway, what else can I say? Get outside, touch grass. The next step, other than just there's really no downside to going outside or going outside with your friends and family, but you can also organize things. And again, they don't have to be unfun categorically. They can be tons of fun. And this is really how we connect with other people. This is it. A fuller life and the beginnings of a better society are within the face-to-face interactions with other people, your friends and neighbors, your communities, the strangers being the friends you haven't met yet. We can make things better by working together. After all, rebellions might be built on hope, but revolutions have started in book clubs. I don't want it.